When the Canucks miss the playoffs again.
When Jim Benning trades away all our picks.
When Goldobin is scratched for the third game in a row. C4 is there. With Sedin-like vision, Horvat's work ethic, and Petey's electric personality. Here comes the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast with Chris, Matt, Anna, and Adam.
Powered by Overtime Media.
Welcome to another episode of the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast. This is Chris at Lightforce, joined virtually by Anna Forsyth at aforsyth03. It is just the two of us. We thought Matt might show up. He told us he was a game time decision because he had said he had a number of errands he needed to run. He was like get some groceries and whatnot for his grandparents. And being the good grandson he is, I'm going to presume that's where he is because he's not with us. But if you want to find him on Twitter and give him the thumbs up, it is at @Matley_61. Missing in action, as is usual, is Adam O'Neill Carter at AdamFOC. And I actually don't know what Adam's up to. I haven't heard from him since we've all started to social distance and self-isolate.
Yeah, he took the social distancing real seriously. He's gone off into the woods, I think.
Well, he could be on Bowen, as far as we know, with family. I would presume the internet still works. Just like, hey guys, I'm still here. I'm around. Hope you're all doing well. Like, that's one of the things I've noticed. I've been actually in touch with people that I haven't really spoken to in some time. And it's just a matter of, hey, how you doing? How you handling, the self-isolation? How's Baby Force handling it? Those check-ins. I don't know. Have you noticed something similar?
Yeah, I feel like I've been super social since I can't actually be social in person. I've had very social times. I've done pub quizzes with internet friends, even at lunchtime, because, for the UK, that's a normal drinking hour. And I join in on my lunch break, stuff like that, talking to my parents a lot. It's actually been kind of nice to, actually talk to people properly. Yeah,
so what we're saying is Adam has no excuse not to be connecting with us right now. Even if it was just dropping into Discord and saying, Heidi-ho or whatever it happens to be. Again, Adam, where are you? We miss you. We want to feel the love. But as I said...
Owen might only have dial-up, but, please, come back to it.
He has a cell phone. It should still work. He could text us. He could jump into Discord. For those of you who want to join Discord, where the best conversations take place, you just want to go to bit.ly/C4 Discord, C4 Discord, all caps, and you'll get to join all of the friendly banter in Gate 16. Or off topic today, where everyone was talking about, was it Tiger King or whatever?
Yes, which I've yet to see, but I think that's going to be my next binge. It sounds crazy.
Well, I have heard people talk about it everywhere. They've been talking about it on the radio. They've been talking in all these Discord servers that I'm part of. I've seen it showing up on Facebook, on Twitter, at work. The work social channels, people are saying, oh, you got to watch Tiger King. So I think I will eventually turn it on and check it out. It seems kind of weird. I don't know what to make of it. So I can't say I'm going to binge through the entire show. But I say that, and next thing you know, I totally will.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've been watching some intense stuff on Netflix recently, namely Don't F with Cats, and this intense teen drama called Dare Me, which is pretty messed up as well. So, I don't know, I was kind of looking for a break from that, but, can't be left out of these conversations anymore.
Well, we will get into all of this type of nonsense a little bit later on in the podcast, but we do have some hockey talk to cover. News broke today that the Vancouver Canucks goaltender of the future, who was no longer the goaltender of the future, Eddie Lack, he announced his retirement officially today, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, to share some of our memories, and maybe talk a little bit about Vancouver goalie history. There isn't a whole lot of hockey chatter. The NHL has been trying to create content, having different captains, talk, and we maybe might touch on what's going on in the world of Tryamkin. But we'll give you some hockey conversation as we dive into Rewind. So it's official. Eddie Lack, his career is now done. It's unfortunate. His hips, his body, unfortunately, did not hold up as he had hoped, and he officially announced his retirement today on Twitter through a series of 4 tweets and essentially a video broken up, I think, to fit into like the Twitter constraints. But I think the writing was on the wall, especially when we saw him take that position. I believe it's at Arizona State University, where he's coaching. Generally you don't get into that type of role when you're thinking of coming back to play at, the top level of the sport.
Yeah, because we kind of had that Justin Williams took a big break and then he came back, and, Boy Ryan, for different reasons, took a break. And we weren't sure about either of them coming back. But with Eddie, you kind of thought from an injury perspective and, that he might be done. And it was, it's just confirmation today.
And even if he thought he might be able to make a return, maybe let's say this season, as depth to a team going on a playoff run, or potentially looking at maybe trying to do it again next year. The situation that the world is in today, it makes that significantly complex. Like, we have absolutely no clue if there will be a continuation of the 2028 NHL season. I mean, there's been some crazy conversation about the league asking teams about rink space through to September, which would then lead me to think they're actually trying to finish an entire season where one finishes and then the next one starts, which would be great for all those playoff teams, especially the 2 teams that made a Stanley Cup. But, I think Eddie sort of understood that there are a number of factors that were playing against him, and, sort of do what Roberto Luongo did. Make the call when the call was still able to be made by you. I get that maybe Eddie had sort of maybe transitioned a little bit prior to this, whereas Roberto, he sort of cold turkey threw his pads up on the telephone wires and off he went to the world of retirement. But no, and Eddie, I think, has found himself that future beyond, and I'm not going to say hockey, but beyond NHL hockey, where he's now getting into coaching. And what's not to say we don't see him make a return, whether it is a goalie coach or in the pro side of the business.
Right. And I do respect him for making that call, because he kind of said that he got back to like 90% fitness, but he just couldn't make up that last 10%. So you do kind of respect that he didn't try and push himself. He made the call for his own health and his own sanity and then his own future. And he's, making plans. He's got his real estate license as well. So.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so I think that's his family background, is real estate back in Sweden. And that's what he's done down in Phoenix. So he's got that going as well as the goalie coaching. So yeah, he's got a little future for himself there for sure.
Did you happen to see all 4 of the videos that he tweeted out?
Yeah, I watched all 4. Made it my business.
Because I know the tweet was shared in C4 Discord, and you could play the first video directly from that share, but the subsequent tweets in the thread, you had actually opened it up. So the first one really just talked about his thoughts on his career and some of his great moments. But the second, third, and fourth videos where the real meat on the bone existed.
Yeah. Did you have any favorites among the videos?
Okay. Well, I thought Murph was top notch. I really enjoyed Murph.
Best one.
Ryan Woodley, I thought he was good. I mean, they were all good. So Eddie Lack, for those that really never understood him as a player, he was essentially a kid who was just goofing off all the time. I remember this conversation I had with Wyatt and Bowman, and they talk. Actually, the 2 of them were in on the retirement video too, and I thought they did real well. But they talk a little bit about the story, and they've talked about it as well, I think, on Trust the Process. But Eddie Lack came to their place. I think it was Wyatt's place, but shows up. Here's a professional hockey player, shows up at someone's 1-bedroom apartment where they sit down, eat some takeout, play some NHL, and talk hockey on a podcast. And from there, I mean, that was just him. He totally enjoyed doing that.
Very open, I think, with his time, with his personality. And that didn't always work out well for him. It's brave to do that in a city like Vancouver, but yeah, I respect it.
Okay, there's a couple, sides to the Vancouver Canuck fan coin, and I know we'll probably touch on them a little bit. But if there's one thing that does seem to do well, it's when players show that personality. Like, you think about it, who are the players that the market tends to, I'm going to say majority rules, appreciate? It's the Kevin BXs. It's the
Right.
Eddie. It is the Eddie Lax. To some respect, the
Yeah.
Roberto Luongo is sort of in the latter part of
Later.
right?
Yeah.
It's when we start to actually see the players for who they are. Now, I'm gonna use a complete opposite sort of style and personality. I'm gonna use a Bo Horvat example. I know you've described Bo as pretty straightforward, which he is, but we don't get a lot of his personality, and I think that's the letter on his chest that maybe prevents that. But also, he doesn't seem to be the type of guy to goof off. Whereas we look at someone like Petey, who is taking self isolation, working on his golf game. And that's sort of where Eddie Lack fit. And I feel that type of personality is what really connects with fans in this market.
Right. But you can understand, like, I'm sure it goes hand in hand that, like, the type of person that becomes a captain is the sort of quieter, steady guy, right? Kevin Bieksa was definitely a leader for the team, but I don't think he would ever be a captain, and maybe he wouldn't have the freedom to be so outlandish if he was. So
yeah, no, I Juice would have never had the C thrown on his jersey. If he did, it was just more of a fill in. I think he fit the role of an alternate much better. But the idea, I think, is that when you look at players in Vancouver, the ones who embrace Vancouver and bleed Vancouver, they're fully appreciated. I mean, like Trevor Linden, he's going to have credit in this city forever. There's very little that he could do short of showing up at the Raj, throwing on a Messier jersey that had Boston Bruins colors and said that Brad Marchand is his best friend or something. And even then, people are like, "Yeah, that's Trev. It's okay."
Not to get too sidetracked, but Trev is an interesting one, I think, because he kind of risked his legacy a little bit by stepping into the front office role. And then he was kind of turfed out before, like, he could make a real mark, but he became something of a martyr, right?
Well, okay, see, this is the thing is, I think if Trev was still around, people would probably see him slightly different, but because he was sort of turfed out, and for all intents, it sounds like there was a power play, and Trev unfortunately came out on the wrong end of it. I think people understand that it wasn't his call to leave, or if it was his call because he was told that it was going to be made. I don't believe it really withdrew enough credit that he's now into overdraft. I mean, he has money in that bank for a long time.
I just think it would be interesting if he was still in front office. Like,
well, I think it would be interesting, but let's say
before?
If the team had started to turn around or turn a corner, and ultimately we'll never really know what went down, or if we do, we'll find out like 5-10 years from today. But you are right. I mean, it is interesting to see if he'd stuck around, what that would be like. But back to Eddie. What were your favorite moments from the tweet storm of videos?
Yeah, I mean, it comes as no surprise to any of our listeners that I love the Murph one. I think Murph is a very funny guy, and he got Eddie, like, clearly, I'm sure, as a reporter, just like as a broadcaster interviewing these players all the time, Eddie provided like a nice break. He's not just gonna say, "Get pucks deep," blah blah blah. He's gonna be a bit more of a personality. So I like that element. But it was cool to see the Wyatt and Jordan one as well. Like, I remember that Legion of Log episode way back in the day. It was just a great treat to have Eddie on. So but I think I've always took a shine to Eddie ever since the lockout, when him and Tanev were playing on the Chicago Wolves, and they did a little interview thing where Eddie asked Chris Tanev questions. And he asked him what his favorite cake was, and Chris Tanev said carrot cake. which just like is the most Chris Chan answer, and Eddie just ripped him for it, and just from that moment on, I was just like, Eddie, you're my type of dude. Like, I've always enjoyed him. I've loved him, and I hated Torts for making people hate him.
Well, okay, I don't know if people really hated Eddie Lack.
No,
right? Like you think of the situation as it was. That was a Torts, decision through and through. We've actually heard since then from a number of different people. We've heard, including from Mike Gillis, that the decision that Torts made was a Torts call. Like, I mean, heck, there was in the Juice and Kess podcast where they had sort of gone back and talked about the decision, and they were trying to defend it themselves. Like, it ultimately, Eddie was just in a bad spot. And he made the most of what he could, and heck, we even saw in the video he embraced the fact that he had so many tacos that he crapped his pants during the game.
Yeah,
allegedly. I mean, Luongo. I mean, why would Luongo ever lie about something like that? But I think if someone actually says Eddie Lack was the reason why Roberto Luongo got sort of run out of town, that would blow my mind, and then have me wonder, is that same person who's upset at Eddie Lack the same person who's upset at Roberto Luongo? Like, where no goaltender will ever be good enough. But, I guess, I could see how Torts did him a disservice.
Yeah, and it is interesting. I don't know if you read the interview that he gave to Daily Hive today, but Torts is still his favorite coach.
Well,
and that
okay,
blows my tiny mind slightly, but he seems to be a player's coach. People like Torts. Players like Torts.
Well, we've heard a lot of people say that I really like Torts. Like, it was an interesting situation, Tortorella coming to Vancouver. I mean, we'll never really get the full story as to who made the call. The belief is it's the family, and if the family didn't make the decision, they did a serious hint, nudge, nudge to Mike Gillis. I'm interested, if we were to go back in time, to see if Torts had gotten more than just a season, what might have happened. Because, he identified the core as being done, and I mean, he was bang on, and unfortunately, that one season, or actually a few seasons before, under, Coach Willie D, before we saw that transition, Willie wasn't the guy for the job. Maybe Torts could have done something with that team. Anywho,
no, it's a what if, but like, it did seem like Torts wasn't fully invested in Vancouver. He wasn't even living in the country.
Yeah, the fact that they installed a bed in the arena for him so he didn't have to go back across the border and down to Point Roberts, I think says enough about the situation as it is. It's one thing where you reside in the United States, as he and many other players do. Like, there are, I don't know of any right now, but there have been over the years a number of Vancouver Canucks that have lived in Point Roberts. Just because it's convenience.
I get it, tax. But like I can understand the tax side of things, but like, Vancouver's a beautiful city, and especially if you have the money that hockey players do. But whatever. It just seemed like they had to force him to turn up to game day skates. Like, he didn't want to do that. But there must be something about him. Eddie said he was a great communicator. You always knew where you stood with him, and I just have to say, like, honestly, I couldn't, like, if Torts had more success with the team, I couldn't care less if he, like, shouted at the media every day. But it didn't seem like he was invested in that success, and he really wasn't having sustained success on the ice either, so.
Well, there's something that I think pretty much every Canucks fan will agree with. The Torts era, as short as it was one of the weirder eras of the Vancouver Canucks, and we've had some pretty weird times.
Right.
So, just on the topic of goaltending, Eddie Lack, Roberto Luongo were a pretty colorful pairing. I mean, personality-wise, that was when we were starting to see more of Roberto. Eddie just embraced the meta. I mean, he was, goofy as all heck. We didn't really get the goofiness from Corey Schneider. He was more sort of, level level-headed personality.
Yeah, it was a little entertaining. He had his impressions and stuff, and he did that.
Okay, I guess
thing, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, he definitely wasn't Eddie Lack for sure.
But I found sort of thinking back, most Vancouver Canucks goaltenders, at least during their playing career, were pretty quiet to themselves. It isn't until they've sort of moved on or retired or gotten older where we've started to see personality. Cheech, he's probably the number one example of that. I mean, he may have had personality when he was a player, but it wasn't something that I recall at all, and I'm old enough to remember.
Right.
Kirk McLean, here's another one. So Kirk McLean was a pretty level-headed, easygoing, straightforward, straight-laced kind of guy. Now that we are seeing replayed hockey, the fact that he would go and do a video as if the game had actually just happened.
Yeah, that's a cute idea. I like that they're doing that. They had the Airhoff one as well.
Yeah, and that but that to me, that's the personality that if it was there, it was in the room, right? It never left the room, and I personally feel it's a good thing about what we get out of this new era of hockey and the NHL and the Vancouver Canucks is we get to see more of the players themselves. And again, I'm going to go back to Petey and his golf game. Like those videos were meant. Like one, I don't know if that was just an idea he had to, if he had sort of saw it and copied it, but it was phenomenal. I want to see more of that stuff. I would love to see, whether it's just Vancouver Canucks players, but like any Vancouver player, whether it be the Whitecaps, SC, BC Lions, Vancouver Canadians, Vancouver Warriors, I don't really care. Any of these players. I think it does a service to actually show, hey, I'm kind of a real person here, and I do silly things as we are apt to do.
Yeah, I really like how much fun, in general, the Canucks and the Canucks organization are having with that side of things. Speaking of the Warriors, they had that fun segment where one of the Warriors players re-signed, and then he turned off at the Canucks practice and asked them what they thought about this player. And most of them did not know that he was standing in front of them. And why would you? But that was a fun element, and as we deal with this no hockey time, it's nice that they're leaning into that. But yeah, with Eddie, just like goalies are weird. They're all super weird. Kirk McLean is probably one of the most normal goalies. Like I didn't obviously see him as a player, but like having met him quite a few times, like very charming and suave, and goalies just strike me as a very weird personality, and Eddie was just unabashedly himself. So I have to, respect that, and I enjoyed having him here.
Yeah. The final thing we'll talk a little bit about before we get into a whole lot of nonsense, Nikita Tryamkin. Technically speaking, his contract goes for one more month in the KHL, but that season is a wash due to the coronavirus COVID-19 disease. Is he going to become a Vancouver Canuck? And if he does he actually fit on the blue line? Like, I know there's this belief that the size that he brings would contribute to a blue line that might be lacking, although it, I would argue that the Canucks did address size over the course of the last offseason. His numbers in the KHL don't really indicate that he's going to have a strong NHL game. So really, would he want to be number 7? And 2, would the Canucks even want him as a number 7?
I mean, that's super interesting, I think, because his agent spoke today and saying that they didn't want to sign a 2-way contract, and, they see his future as in the NHL, i.e. not the AHL. And while I definitely don't think he should be a walk-on to this team, you can't cut off your nose to spite your face. The Canucks have struggled defensively. And if he shows up and he's still good for this team, put him on. Like, put him on as a bottom pairing. Put him on as the 7th going into 6th. But, yeah.
The difficulty,
I'm
though,
just not ready to make the call of, he's definitely done.
I mean, the difficulty that, we have to face is the fact that the Vancouver Canucks are going into some uncertainty right now because we don't know what the season will will end and what it will look like, and then how that will then tie into next season where, NHL revenues are going to be down. I don't know the math involved in calculating the cap for next season, but I'm going to suggest it's not going to go up. And if it is, escrow is going to be a big issue. So the Vancouver Canucks are already hamstrung due to the Luongo recapture, due to the fact that, they do have the Louis Eriksson contract still. I mean, maybe they get rid of it. We don't know. I just wonder if Nikita is the best player for the price the Vancouver Canucks will be able to pay to sit on the blue line. And I don't know of a replacement, but I would imagine there are quite a few other players that could do that. I mean, to use a Matt term, I don't see Tryamkin as anything more than a jag right now.
Right. And I totally agree with you. Like, not saying like he's this great player answer to our problems, and obviously there's the huge issue of Tyler Myers' contract. There's a lot of money already tied up in pretty jag defensemen there, and then Louis, Jay Beagle. We have a lot of money tied up, plus whatever problems this stoppage is going to add. So I'm not saying, he's the answer, that's for sure, and I think he is a jag, but Canucks need to do something on that blue line. And it might just be it's Brogan Rafferty's time to shine. But something.
And that's the thing is there are options already in the organization. Is Tryamkin better than those options? He could be, but I haven't seen it myself. I can't say I've seen a lot of his play in the KHL, but having followed those that have seen more of it, they're not trumpeting his name from the balcony to say hey all, here's the greatest player since Bobby Orr. So
no, you're right. I just worry about our defensive depth. And really, I don't think Tryamkin's the answer. I just put it out there that I'm definitely worried about our defensive depth that Jim Benning seems to be so confident in. But who do we have coming up? Rafferty. That's about it. Juolevi still has some big issues, so he's not injury free.
True.
So yeah, I'm just concerned.
Yeah, and I think it all comes down to the fact that if Tryamkin and his agent want a one-way deal, don't want to have any chance of having to serve some time in the AHL, I don't know if Vancouver's the place for him.
No,
if it's that clear, we don't need that trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. Anywho, enough of this crazy hockey talk. Let's take a quick break before you want to half full, half empty.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? And that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And, yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
At the start of the episode, I promised nonsense, and by goodness, I'm going to give us some nonsense. If you tune in to this podcast to hear our hockey analysis, you're probably going to get very little from this moment onward. So you might want to maybe hit pause, hit stop, go on to your next episode of the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast. I don't know what it'd be, but if you like nonsense, continue listening in. And I know there are some of you that do. I'm going to kick this off talking a little bit about the fact that I had decided to do one of those Netflix parties watching Goon. And
right.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. We had Schneids. Some of you might know him on Twitter. Chris Schneider. He joined in. I believe Sean, Bearded Canuck, swung by, as well as Heidi. I mean, I'm trying to think of everyone who sort of stopped in. It was a last minute, sort of very little notice thing. It was earlier in the afternoon. But I kind of enjoy just chatting with people about the movie. In fact, one of my friends, Rebecca, she actually knew a few of the people in the movie itself, and then I didn't realize that Jet Woo's dad was in it. Like that was stuff I learned.
I didn't know that either.
Right, but like this is the thing. I'm watching with others like, oh yeah, look at Jet Woo's. I'm like, sorry, what? Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I think I'm actually going to do another Netflix party showing for Goon 2 because sure. Why not? I don't know when that'll be, but it'll probably be a little more notice. So it won't be like, hey guys, I'm doing this in a couple of hours. It'll be more like, hey, I'm going to be doing this in a couple of days, and I'm going to try to aim for a time that's a little more convenient for us on the West Coast. Maybe like a 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock type.
Right,
movie.
that isn't in the middle of people's workday.
Well, it wasn't in the middle of the workday. It was immediately at the end of the workday. It was just I had to fit it into like baby force time.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Can you explain to me how Netflix Party works? So what's the kind of like social element to it?
So, okay, first and foremost, for anyone to take part in a quote-unquote Netflix party using the extension, you have to have your own Netflix account. So it's not like one person logs in and everyone gets to watch it. It's not a streaming theater experience.
No.
So everyone logs into their Netflix account. The way the Netflix Party extension works is essentially it's part of the Chrome, the browser. The one person goes and starts a movie and they create a Netflix party. That creates a link that you then distribute to everyone else that wants to take part. And when they click that link, it starts the movie at the exact same time as the person who started it. So think of it as like I start the movie, I share it to you. Now, if I click pause, it'll also pause your movie. So that way, when we're watching it relatively in sync. So I imagine there's probably some latency, maybe a second or two, but not enough that, in the matter of time that you might try to communicate to someone who's watching it, they would know. Now, how do you communicate? Well, at Netflix Party, it actually opens up a little chat window on the right-hand side of your screen. And so then you can it's essentially like, watching a video on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever, and being able to chat with people in real time. Through text.
But it's through text, yeah. Because the other one I've tried is Watch Together, with the 2-part thing, the number 2. And that's how me and my friend are watching cricket together because we're very cool that way. So every Saturday, we're taking it turns to pick a classic game. And yeah, you throw it on there and we are doing it. So we're talking, there's only 2 of us. So we're talking via, like, you can talk via webcam and mic with that. And it's cricket. It's not like a movie where you need to like follow the storyline.
Yeah.
So that works out quite well for like sport. So I'd recommend that for anyone that like for smaller groups and when you're, when you don't need to hear like every line of dialogue or whatever. And that's like, it's common. Like if I pause, it'll pause for him. And if he pauses, it pauses for me.
Okay.
So either one of us can control. But I enjoy that. Like it's nice to have a interactive experience.
And that's called Watch Together.
Yeah, that's Watch Together.
Okay.
But
so, Goon 2, you're gonna watch Goon 2. So, and that's I chose hockey movie or hockey movie as sort of what I would get into it because again, I mean, I know the C4 community we're into hockey, and I mean, what better hockey movies are there than Goon and Goon 2? I mean, maybe Slapshot,
Mystery Alaska.
Well, Mystery Alaska is good, although I don't know if it's actually available on Netflix right now. It might be available on Disney Plus. I don't know if it was a Disney movie or not.
I'm not sure.
I know.
Can I use this as a segue to talk about I don't know if you've seen it, but it just came out today, the Athletic poll on sports movies.
I have not seen it. What did the Athletic
So
ask?
They used all their writers. It was all of their writers were polled, and they had a few, guidelines, but they came up with the top 100 sports movies, like of all time. Let me see if I can bring this up here. But I mean, I had some issues with it. First of all, they called The Big Lebowski a sports movie, which I think is a stretch, even though it's a great movie.
Bowling.
Bowling is in it. I mean,
it's okay. So if The Big Lebowski is a sports pitch, is a sports movie?
No.
But see, I mean, I don't disagree with you when they start Big Lebowski as a sports movie. But if that's the case, then a movie like Fever Pitch is a sports
So wait,
movie.
you're talking about the original or the original, right?
Well,
The football one.
Fever Pitch? No, I am not talking about the football one. I'm talking about the baseball one.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So it's based on a Nick Hornby book, which is about football. I don't think either are, but the baseball one is closer to a sports movie. I think it's still a rom-com, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a rom-com. It's not a sports movie just because sports is involved. Doesn't make. Is the Tooth Fairy a sports movie because The Rock's a hockey player who turns into the Tooth Fairy?
Right. No. So my argument is that it should shape the narrative. So it should be like where there's one big competition, one big tournament, one big thing that you're competing for.
Yeah, sports being the focus. Without the sport, I mean, which, okay, I having said this, someone's going to say, oh, the baseball version of Fever Pitch totally needed the support. Okay, sure. But I mean, you could have had any sport there and it wouldn't have mattered. It was rom-com.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what do you think was number one?
Oh, see, part of me wants to say Slapshot.
No, but like this is all writers across.
I know, I know. So, Field of Dreams?
No, it's actually not a major sport, but it's a major movie.
Not a major sport, but not a. Okay, that doesn't help me. Just tell me.
Okay, it's Rocky.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, I could totally see that. And, I'm now kind of embarrassed that I hadn't gone sort of that direction.
No, but
Rocky.
You don't think of it because it's like boxing. Like, it is a sports movie, but it's not the sport that you would go to first.
Yeah, no, Rocky is definitely, like, you know what, I was thinking, like, yeah, you're right, major sports. I was thinking, like, I was hockey, baseball, I was going to say football, well, then I'm like, is it Rudy? Like, I'm thinking along those lines. But yeah, Rocky, I could totally see, because, the thing about boxing is it doesn't matter sure what primary sport you like. Sports fans tend to, for whatever reason, look at sort of old school boxing and say, yeah, I totally get it. I follow it. I paid attention. And Rocky as a movie, I mean, this series was a pretty darn good one. Not all the Rocky movies have turned out really well, but it's a pretty good series.
A lot of them feature, I have to say, across the whole 100. Actually, the highest placed hockey movie was Miracle, which I'm not shocked by.
Yeah, and Miracle is the movie that friend of the show Nexus is talking about in patron chat here. It appeals
to the American
mindset. Exactly, for Americans, I think that's the hockey movie. Whereas for us in Canada, I mean, we look at a variety of hockey movies, and Miracle is like to us, right? Like, we're not entirely concerned about watching Miracle. It was a good movie, filmed locally.
Yeah, it's not good, but there's some disturbing parts to it, I would say. Major League, a movie I enjoyed, placed at number 10. So.
Oh, Major League! I watched Major League last week. It sucks because based on all the streaming services I have, Major League 2 is not available.
That's a shame.
I know.
I haven't actually seen Major League 2, but I really enjoyed Major League.
Major League 2 isn't bad, but the problem is Major League sort of set this bar, and 2 tried to get there again, but it struggled.
Right.
Have you seen Mr. Baseball?
I have not.
I think you'd enjoy it.
Okay. Like, I think, unless I get any other suggestions in off topic, I think my next C4 of the movie is going to be The Sandlot, though, which placed at number 11, by the way. But Trev Goldie was really going for that in the last episode.
Oh, really? I've never actually seen The Sandlot. I know of the movie. I've never actually watched it, though.
Yeah. Couple of other tragedies from the list. I think Better Luck Beckham gets rated way too low. It's in the 70s.
See, but the problem is, okay, I know you and I both like the movie. I think the problem is that, one, what North Americans see as soccer is problematic. And then, yes, 2,
I agree,
is that it's not based in North America.
Yeah, they talk in these funny accents.
Oh, I love Bend It Like Beckham. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh, I'll just watch it, whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, this is actually really good. I really enjoyed it.
That's so funny. But yeah, that's my personal gripe, but I can understand why at the same time. Miracle Alaska doesn't make it until like 91 or something.
Mystery Alaska, you mean?
Mystery Alaska. Sorry,
yeah, that's
just
okay.
got Miracle in my head. But yeah, there's some interesting ones in there. So I encourage everyone with a subscription to take a look. But yeah, obviously, there's just fewer hockey movies. Let's be real. So, but yeah, there's the Damned United makes it. So I was happy with that.
I enjoyed the Damned United. I was actually
That's one of
talking
my
to
favorite movies ever.
My father-in-law about that movie. He hadn't actually seen it. He knew of it. I mean, because it was it's based on a true story, and it was a book before a movie, wasn't it?
Yes, I've read the book as well. It's even madder than the,
really?
Than the film. But like, it's a weird territory, right? Because it's a fictional take on a real story. But yeah, I think it's so well done in the movie. Like Michael Sheen is just fantastic in it, as is.
Oh, Michael! I like Michael Sheen as an actor.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of impersonations, real people playing real people. But he's fantastic in that. So I think you don't need to be like heavily invested in football to watch the Damn United. Like I didn't know anything about 70s football.
Well, not many people do. Right. Actually, let me rephrase this. When I say that, it would be like 70s hockey for us here in Canada, right? Like, I know it's a joke when I can talk about 80s hockey. Well, who can talk about 70s hockey?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you definitely don't need to know. They map out like anything that you do need to know, but it's just about this one personality. And although a lot of British people do have that attachment to like Brian Clough, and everyone will throw around the quotes like, I wouldn't say I'm the best, but I was definitely in the top one. That was one of his quotes. But like, I don't think you need to come in with an idea of Brian Clough to enjoy that movie.
There was now we're sort of getting on the stretch side. There was a movie called The Green Street Hooligans.
Right.
Have you seen it?
I actually haven't, which is mad.
I need
to see it. And Football Factory as well. That's meant to be quite good on that kind of topic.
So I mean, it's hooliganism. I should be very clear. But yeah, Green Street Hooligans. I remember my brother was the one who told me about it, and I watched it, and I'm like, oh, this is like again. I really enjoyed the movie, and it was not one I would have thought that I would have enjoyed. I mean, there are a lot of movies where I'm like, you know what, and I'm going to get a little bit off the sports topic here, and probably become sort of a laugh at down the road. But a movie like The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, or like
I actually haven't seen that.
So this thing is, it was on like one of the movie channels one afternoon, nothing else on. I'm like, sure, whatever. And I had it on more as background noise. But I then found myself getting into it. And see, the thing was, I actually saw the second movie first. And the problem with the second Best Exotic Marigold Hotel was that it's referring to all the stuff that you should have picked up in the first movie. So I'm like, it's that continuation problem you have where you're like, okay, now I need to fill in all these holes.
Right.
And so I went back and I watched the first one. I enjoyed both. I'm cultured enough to admit that.
Good for you. Yeah, I need to get out my comfort zone a bit more. I've said time and time again, I literally hate any sci-fi and fantasy movies. And the problem I have is that the people that tell me to watch them are the people that already enjoy them, and they say, oh yeah, but even if you don't like sci-fi and fantasy, you'll like this one. But I need someone that doesn't like sci-fi and fantasy to tell me which ones they liked.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What other binging have you done? Any other shows or movies? Because I mean, Tiger King is on both of our lists, so we'll have to at least check an episode or two.
Yeah, we'll have to report that.
But what else have you been binging?
I've been watching my normal, weekly shows, which are like Schitt's Creek, Kim's Convenience, Station 19, which is the firefighter one. That's a spin-off of Grey's Anatomy. I really enjoy that.
Did you watch Grey's though?
No.
Okay.
I tried. I didn't like it.
See, my wife and I watch all the Chicagos. So Chicago Fire, Chicago Med,
Right.
Chicago PD. Like we really enjoy the Chicagos. And I've found that most of the networks are now getting into their sort of own little universes. So you've got Station 19, Grey's Anatomy on one network. You've got the Chicagos on another. You've got, what was it, 911 Lone Star, 911, like on Fox or whatever.
Yeah,
like, I mean,
different ones for that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they all sort of have their universe and created. The problem I find is I can't keep up with multiple universes, so I just sort of invest in one, which is why, I watch the Chicagos.
I think that's smart. With Grey's Anatomy, I just I tried, but one, the main character was super annoying. And yeah, like if you don't like the main character, then you're not gonna get invested in the show. Two, I prefer ensemble shows that isn't really a main character in Station 19. And I like firefighters. For some reason, it appeals to me more than medicine. So I kind of got invested in that.
Yeah, and we got into Chicago Fire sort of when it started, enjoyed it, and then the universe expanded where you got Med and PD, and they had Chicago Law or whatever it was called, and then that one didn't last more than a season because that one was kind of weird. It didn't really fit. But
legal dramas are very separate from the more procedural types.
The thing about medicine as a concept for TV shows was that I got into ER. That's sort of my show. And at the time, Chicago Hope, which was a competitor, really wasn't for me. And I believe, if I recall, ER ran for so long, and Grey's is long in tooth itself, is they had some level of overlap. But even if they didn't, it wasn't ER. Like I wanted the heyday of ER as my medical drama, and maybe at that point I'd moved on to other shows as well.
Right. ER went on forever. I remember my mom watching it, and then when I was old enough watching it. But yeah, I wasn't super into it. I was more of a comedy person anyway, but so I was more into Scrubs than anything else. I don't know if you've heard this argument, but it's kind of often said that Scrubs is one of the more realistic medical shows because it doesn't depend on medicine for its storylines.
No, to be honest, I can't say I know enough about Scrubs to even get in on the argument, but that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because a lot of medical shows, House in particular, which I see as a favorite of our patrons, that's like a diagnostic, so it all depends on solving the mystery by the end of the show, which most medical dramas do. So Scrubs being a comedy for one, and also the storylines revolved around the characters and their relationships, and the medicine sort of could go over several episodes, but yeah, it wasn't the peak or trough of the storyline, so it ended up being more realistic. It's all relative, right? Like none of it's really that realistic, but
well, a little off the rails in our world of nonsense. Have you watched Contagion yet?
No,
because
I don't think I'm in the right place for it.
When you talk about realistic, I've now seen it twice. The first time I saw it was years, and having watched it, I'm like, okay, I'm not leaving work. I'm just gonna. I don't want to take transit. I'll walk home. I just can't deal with people because it was cold and flu season too, which was not a smart time to watch this movie. And then just a week and a half ago, I decided, what the heck, I'm going to watch it again, scare the heck out of myself, because the movie itself is fiction, but they brought in experts in epidemiology to actually talk about the script and really work on the conversation, the topics, the presentation. I'm no expert, but it feels real to me. So yeah, if you're not in the right place to watch it, maybe now is not a good time. But trust me, if you do, it doesn't ruin the movie. But I can watching it from start to finish, it makes sense. You're like, oh, I can see how something like that could start.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think maybe when we're looking back at all of this, I'll be able to watch it, but I don't think it will be good for my anxious mind.
The one show that I just started to watch and try to catch up to the rest of the world on is Mandalorian. I watched one episode so far. I don't know. It doesn't really speak to me. I'll watch maybe a few more episodes to see if it's something that I want to continue watching. But I did sign
When
up
is
for
Baby
Disney.
Yoda coming in?
Well, yeah, it just showed up. First episode.
Okay.
And if
They
I
gotta
spoiled that
get
for
that in
someone,
early.
yeah, I mean, if I spoiled that for someone, I'm so sorry, but it's been long enough. Like the fact
It's
that I'm
been a
watching it
while.
now, like, yeah. I signed up for a Disney Plus account just to sort of start seeing one, The Mandalorian, but then two, with baby Force at home,
Right. Makes sense.
access to the Disney shows, and she watches Mickey's Clubhouse. She really enjoys it.
Sure. Is she a Frozen? Is she into Frozen?
No, she liked Cars. She liked Cars. Yeah,
That's interesting.
It's interesting. It is very interesting. Like, we'll ask her, "You want to watch this?" No, I don't want to watch that. And then if I try to sing the song, "Daddy, I don't like that song." But yeah, she really enjoyed
Cars.
Cars.
You've given Baby Force the voice of Mickey Mouse in your impersonation.
Yeah. I tried to show Cars 2, wasn't interested in it. She really liked Up. Although I told my wife she wasn't allowed. I told my wife she wasn't allowed to watch Up, just because I don't think she'd handle.
The beginning is too traumatizing.
Yeah,
it's absolutely traumatizing. Like, all adults think that. So.
Oh man, telling me to get. I don't want to get my daughter on the Wiggles.
Oh, do you know what you should get her to watch?
What?
In the Night Garden.
What is the In the Night Garden?
Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, so children's TV show. So I worked for the live tour of the show back in the UK, and I don't like children much. Baby Force, obvious exception, but not a big kid person. But I loved working for that show because kids were just having the best day of their lives. So it's like it takes place in a little garden. They have all these little creatures that live in there. I remember one's called Oopsie Daisy.
Oh.
It's all a bit mad, but it's really enjoyable, and the kids just loved that thing.
I'm gonna take a quick gander here. In the Night Garden. I think we saw some of this when we were actually at the hotel. Yeah, I think we did. I think she saw a little bit when we were at the hotel during our UK trip.
Yeah, well, if she liked it, yeah, definitely go forward with it. I used to have the funniest conversations with my family about the show because there was 2 different shows you could see with 2 different storylines. And I would talk about the inconsistencies in the storylines and the world of the show. And then my family would make fun of me for taking a kid's show so seriously. But it's, slightly bonkers, but it could be up our alley.
Cool. Well, I will keep that in mind if it's available. But if you're in a situation like I am, go to justwatch.com/ca, and you can actually use that to search what show or program or movie is available. If it can be streamed, for one, where, and if it can't, it'll tell you what the price is at all the different providers if you want to rent or buy or whatever. At least that's what I've been using. I'm sure there are other ways to obtain content.
That's a good way.
Anyway, we are at the end of an episode expected. If you made it this far, you may notice that there is a slight continuity issue. I apologize, but technology is currently being stretched to the limit with every single person in the world working from home. I was actually looking at trying to get some gear for me to do a little more content creation here at home, and it's just impossible. Microphones, headsets, webcams, everything's sold out. And what might be in stock, Amazon ain't shipping that stuff until it says the end of April. Could be longer because they've reprioritized what they're
which is fair
shipping. Yeah, but again, apologies. And if you didn't notice it, the last minute, ignore it because we're here. But any final words of wisdom you want to share with all of our listeners there,
Anna? No, I just want to thank Eddie Lack from the bottom of my heart for being such an entertaining goaltender, a great personality, and also for giving us, having the good decency to retire today. So he gave us something to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you raise a very good point about Eddie, because prior to that happening, what was my comment about Oh yeah, hockey is over. Time to change to a movies podcast. Which might explain
we kind
when.
of are right now, but
Well, we did. Yeah, but I think that's what scared Matt away, because when I had sort of asked, I can be, but I'm also trying to think of ways we can incorporate some hockey talk. So,
but if listeners want to make sure a topic is covered, make sure you're on Discord and letting us know whether that's hockey or not. Just like throw some ideas onto Gate 16 or off topic.
Yeah.
And we'll bring them up on the show.
And if for some reason Discord's not your thing, you can also contact us on Twitter at the C4 Podcast. I mean, I occasionally see, people tweeting our way. I know you tend to be the one who responds for the most part, because you are on your A game all the time.
Well, I'm a millennial. See, with these damn millennials with their phones attached to them.
And hopefully I don't forget accountants. Apologies. That was my bad. I noticed how you're quiet now. Are you upset at me, Anna?
Oh, no, I can never be upset at you. I just think my internet is done listening to you. I'm fine to let you keep talking, but my internet's decided that, they're done.
Cool. Well, I'll take that cue as a signal that we need to wrap up. So on behalf of Anna Forsyth at A4803, myself, Chris Golden at Lightforce, the Missing in Action, Matt Lee at @Matt_61, and Adam Owenall Carter at AdamFOC. You are listening to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast, brought to you by the Overtime Media Network. And you can find us by going to www.c4podcast.com. So those magical 2 words that you've been waiting to hear, we're out.